So you want to hear someone tell the truth? This happened on the BBC. This is that guy Jeffrey Sachs, friend of the show, and he's one of the few truth tellers in the I don't want to say in the elite or whatever. But here he goes.
The Biden administration has been strongly critical of China's actions on human rights, but engaging on climate change. Do you see that as a strategy that can actually work?
I'm not sure why BBC started with listing only China's human rights abuses. What about America's human rights abuses?
Now, that's basically what I did when I went to the Oslo Freedom Forum.
What aboutism?
I did basically what he's saying. I go, hey, what about, you say the United States is part of the free world? We have 5% of the world's population. We incarcerate 25% of the world's prison population. That's not a free world. What are you talking about? And so anyway, he's doing that here.
Iraq war, together with the UK, completely illegal and under false pretenses. The war in Syria, the war in Libya, the continued sanctions against civilian populations in Venezuela and Iran, walking away from the Paris Climate Agreement for the last 4 years, unilateral trade actions that have been deemed illegal by WTO. So one can make anything one wants, but we have really serious human rights violations by the United States abroad, not to mention an insurrection on January 6th in our own country, not to mention the continued massive racism, white supremacism, and abuse of incarceration of hundreds of thousands of people in the U.S., Black, African-American people of color. So I think that the whole premise of this story is a little bit odd.
No, but sorry, I'm looking. We have to look. If I may, we have to look.
I found the framing of it not what I expected. I thought we were going to talk about climate change, which we should. But I think that the idea that there is one party that is so guilty, how can we talk to them, is just a strange way to address this issue.
Well, hang on. Sorry, Jeffrey. If I could come, Jeffrey, I'm hoping we can have a conversation. I'm hoping we can have a conversation. And if I could just say, I'm using, and what I'm saying back to you here is, we're also using the framing of the Biden administration. We're also talking from the perspective of how Joe Biden himself and those around him have talked about the human rights abuses in China. So just to say,
always, excuse me for one moment, the U.S. always attacks other countries. It holds itself sacrosanct.
So that was fun. But that was from last April, by the way. That was from, April 2021. That happened on BBC. I think we showed it at that time, too. And I like what he says. My favorite part of the segment is how the BBC host just instinctively takes on the role of PR agent for the CIA and the United States, while Sachs vehemently rejects being identified with the U.S. regime and its crimes at home and abroad. So here.
They know to do it. They know, of course we
That's just instinctively.
Of course it's a spy balloon. That's how they all talk.
Yes.
And so the framing of this issue is strange. That's what I'm saying.
What, by your own country as well as the rest of the world? I believe
by the government, not by my own country, by the government of my country. So I believe that the two leading polluters absolutely need to clean up their act. This is crucial for the sake of the world. And so, of course, we need to clean up our act because the United States is emitting 15 tons of CO2 per person in this country, twice what China is emitting per capita. And the two countries together are about 40% of the CO2 emissions in the world, and we are wrecking the climate.
So that was about climate change. Go ahead.
Also, the reason China is such a big polluter or whatever it was is because all that pollution we just sent there when we sent the manufacturing there.
Yes.
It didn't go away from the earth where it's like, China, you do it. And then we started recycling there and said, hey, you throw this away. They just dumped it. So all the recycling was worthless.
That's right.
You wasted your time if you recycled, just so you know. And then you're like, oh, they're so dirty over there.
I know. People don't know that their recycling's ending up in a... We still have separate bins. I still separate them. I don't know why I'm doing it.
Because it's a comfortable rosary bead.
Yeah, it makes people feel better. Go to jimmydore.com to see my new stand-up special, COVID Lies Are Funny. For only $10, you get to become a premium member, too. And come see us do our live shows. We're going to be doing stand-up comedy in Milwaukee, Nashville, Honolulu, Los Angeles, Northampton, Massachusetts, Syracuse, New York, Cohoes, New York, Hartford, Connecticut, Baltimore, Maryland, and more. Go to jimmydore.com for a link for all those tickets.